The next petition is Petition 1073. Again, a petition that's been in front of us on a number of occasions by Tom Minogue, calling for the Parliament to investigate and establish the reasons for the apparently disproportionate number of Catholics in Scottish prisons. Again, we've had a series of correspondence on this issue. Any particular views on how we wish to deal with this petition and this issue? John.
I can say that I'm disappointed in the Cabinet Secretary's response to the committee. I think part of the reason, and I was the committee member who asked for the inclusion of the Muslim community in the prisons to be included in this investigation. And I think while there has been research done to show that disproportionately large amounts of particular populations find themselves in prison, I think in terms of some of the research the Scottish Government has to undertake is to find out what are the root causes that we find the disproportionate number of people finding themselves in prison. And it's okay to say that we can identify that those individuals come from the more deprived areas, but clearly there is an underlying piece of research that has to be undertaken to show why the links between deprivation and people finding themselves in prison. And there are issues that I have in my mind about whether or not the court system treats people from deprived backgrounds less fairly than they do people from other backgrounds. And I would urge the committee to once again write to the Cabinet Secretary to ask the Cabinet Secretary what research, if any, the Scottish Government would intend to take to find out if there is an underlying bias within the court system that prejudices any case for people who come from a deprived background who find themselves in a court position.
John? Okay.
I think this is a difficult petition because I would probably support a move to close the petition, but it does bring up lots of wider issues and I can see the frustration that's caused by it. There's a wider concern that we need to address, which is the problem of urban deprivation, but I'm not sure that the petition is asking us to do that. So we are in a difficult position. I would agree with John Wilson in that, but the petition itself, I think, probably has been answered.
Any other observations or comments?
I think we are in a difficulty here because although John did ask for the Muslim community to be, if you like, also looked at by the Cabinet Secretary in terms of his response, it really isn't what the original petition stated or what the petitioner wanted. However, I do think that the Cabinet Secretary's response is, I wouldn't say curt, but it does lack, I think, a sufficiency of detailed argument that would convince me that we should just right now close it. I do think it might not be able to go much further forward, but I still would probably on balance agree with my colleague John Wilson's view that we should have one more shy at this and see if the Cabinet Secretary can give us a little bit more detail as to why he feels as he seems to feel, or rather, that's unfair, why the government feels as it seems to feel in the way that he has represented the government in this fairly brief response. So one more shy, and then perhaps we might have a little bit more to work with.
And we'll promise him in the letter that we're not necessarily inviting him back to the committee this afternoon in case he's a wee bit scared about that one. I mean, I think, maybe John will amplify the observation I'm having. I don't think the detail, I mean, in a sense we're all guesstimating, and even the presumed academic research, some limited as it is, doesn't seem to get to the root causes. And I know that one or two members have engaged in discussion around the issue, and it creates a whole other dynamic of perspectives and so on. So I'm reluctant to close, but I'm also conscious that we need to try and interrogate a bit further. Now, I don't know whether it's useful to see if we can identify ourselves as a committee 2 or 3 researchers who are doing social science research on the issue of either ethnic grouping in terms of proportions in prison, or those are defined in terms of faith, other faith groups as well, and maybe try and get some dialogue going with some researchers around that, and certainly I would facilitate that as a convener and invite other members to participate in that discussion, so at least we can feel a wee bit more comfortable, because I think the petitioner's raising a very critical issue that needs to be addressed to try and ensure there's equity and fairness in a broader society, and we need to try and explore that. And at the moment it's too kind of lacking clarity, I think, from the response we've had. So that's one of the suggestions I would have, but I know that other members, maybe Bill, and then I'll let Robin in. Okay, Bill.
I think that's fair enough, convener, but I do think that we need I certainly need a bit of clarity here, because the petitioner has said the petitioner's response to the Scottish Government's response, the petitioner states that Professors Coyle and McIver and his reading, that's Mr McCaskill's reading of the report by Roger Hutchin, and I'm quoting here from the petitioner, bears no relation to what they actually stated in fairly clear terms. So there seems to be a dispute as to even the most basic conclusions that these researchers have arrived at after the research. So I really do think we need a wee bit more clarity from the Scottish Government as to why it seems to, well, it does say that because of the research of Roger Hutchin and Professors Coyle and McIver, there's nothing more to be said, whereas the petitioner is taking the absolute contrary view. So I would appreciate some clarity, Chair.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, Robin.
I think it would give assistance to the petitioner if the huge amount of research, anyway, that is probably available in this area in terms of sociological research, educational research, could be pulled together and analysed and brought to answer the general question of how people land up in prison in Scotland.
Well, it may be suggesting, I put a proposal, it might be worth exploring, see if there's people willing to engage with our committee on that. But secondly, we can maybe ask Spice to pull together some literature search and also some key stuff, because I think we're getting partial. I'm not criticising anybody in terms of the Minister or the prison service. I think we're getting a partiality to that research. It's not allowing us to feel comfortable about being able to be conclusive. And I'm reluctant to close petitions if we're not fairly conclusive about why we're doing so. Okay, John.
I was just going to say, just for Marlon Glenn's benefit, that when the petition first came before this committee, and I did raise the issue about the level of Muslim prisoners in Scottish prisons, the petitioner did write back to welcome the inclusion of that area, because he felt it was an area that he had admitted, but was grateful that a member of the committee and the committee had agreed to take on board that investigation to try and widen out the debate in relation to the populations that do currently reside within our prison service.
I'm very happy to go with widening the research.
Okay, thanks for your patience on that. It's an issue that I think we need to interrogate a significant bit further. Okay, so thanks for your contribution. I think that was very measured from members this afternoon on that issue.